lookalike lady.
Hi, I'm Denise Bella Velasquez. I started my career as a world-renowned Madonna impersonator, working in film, TV, print, stage, and even for Madonna herself. Along the way, I wrote 2 books, started my own talent agency, and have guided hundreds of people, just like you, to begin a career as a celebrity lookalike. I'm considered an expert in this industry, and I continue to groom new talent daily. And that is why I am known as Bella, the Lookalike Lady.
The lookalike lady.
You may wonder why I said no to all 4 TV producers, and some of them on pretty big networks, about having my own lookalike TV show. And I was pretty adamant to stay true to my story of wanting to keep things positive and inspirational, because there is a lot of that in this industry. There are so many talented and incredible performers, and I was interested in telling those stories, and also the inspiration that can keep all of this industry alive and all of us working. One of the people that I actually put on my second book is Jade Roberts, and that's him there. He's an amazing guy, one of my favorite lookalikes. He's so inspiring to me because he really stays on top of his game as far as his act and his physique and his acting skills, and he's one example of many that I will be showing on this channel. So stay tuned for Jade Roberts, an amazing Sylvester Stallone double, and a really amazing guy.
Let me tell you about something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it'll beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody's gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you gotta be willing to take the hits and not point fingers and saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and it ain't you. You're better than that. I'm Jade Roberts, and those are some of my favorite lines from the movie Rocky Balboa. How did I get into this business? Well, I guess it goes back to high school, when a friend in chemistry class came in and said, "You look like this guy in this boxing movie." I had no idea what he was talking about. So then he brought a TV guide in, and Sylvester Stallone was playing a part on the TV show Kojak. And I looked at the photo and I thought, well, I guess he could be a cousin or an older brother, an uncle. And then I didn't really notice the resemblance until I went to the movie, and then I noticed it more. And as I walked out of the theater, there were people outside waiting in line in the lobby, and they were staring at me. I think they were, and my friends seemed to think so. So we began to work on the voices. My friends and I we joked around a lot. As a youngster, I had a tape recorder, and I would do voices, and I wanted to be a DJ, and I would mimic people, and even in high school we would mimic some of the teachers, and we enjoyed doing impressions anyway. So this was just another one that turned out to be something I could use in the future to make somewhat of a career out of. But that's pretty much how I got started. How do I get most of my work? How do I market myself? Well, years ago we didn't have the internet, so we have that today. So you definitely want to use that. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, all kinds of different social media we can use. So I have a website also, Sylvester Stallone lookalike website called StalloneImpersonator.com, www.StalloneImpersonator.com. Also a Facebook page, Jade as Stallone Lookalike. another one Jade Roberts. So I recommend that people put a website together, get on Facebook. Most people are already doing that. Twitter, LinkedIn's not a bad place either. LinkedIn's becoming a big network to get involved in. But to market myself, I still reach out to new agents and event planners and other performers. Networking can be really good. So I would recommend that as and that's what I do. It's a big thing, a big effort that I make every day is to make contact with someone new. The first time I noticed more accolades from it was there was a lookalike contest in college at a local Holiday Inn. A lady that worked there came into the Sears where I was working and said, "You can win this thing for sure. $50." And I thought, as a college student back then, oh, that's great. So I brought some friends, and sure enough, I won the contest. They put me on the radio station locally, and they will do the voice and talk about Buckus and Adrian and Yo Mick and all that good stuff. So I thought there's something there, but I wasn't sure how to pursue it really. It being in the late 70s and into the early 80s, there was a lookalike contest in Dallas where this new guy that was in the business came. He was doing a tour. Went across the country. His name was Ron Smith, and he had lookalike contests all over the place. I heard about it on the radio, and I just had to be listening to the station one day, and he said $100, a lookalike contest, and a contract. And I thought, wow, my life is set now. I gotta do this. This was a big deal to me. So I showed up to the lookalike contest, and the guy that I spoke to said it was supposed to start at 9, and I got there like 8:30 or so, and Ron Smith looked up at me, and there were some people. They'd already had a contest apparently. People were standing around, and he said, "I'm having another contest. You look like Sylvester Stallone. You need to sign up." So I said, "Okay, here we go." So I won the second contest. Got my $100, and the contract basically consisted of him having an information page filled out. We just filled out an info page. Wasn't guaranteed for anything. He did get me some work in the future, but not right away. What was my first job, and do I remember it? What was my first job? I remember the first paying job I had was for a place called Old Chicago Pizza. And on the radio, they were promoting this along with another place called Pesnell's Gym, and they were going to do a charity thing for a children's hospital. I was pretty shy at the time, so an amateur photographer friend of mine who had taken some photos of me said, "You should go into this." He even helped me work on my voice. And he called them up, and next thing I know, I'm appearing with a replica. It was actually one of the motorcycles from the movie, from the Rocky II movie, and the robe and the gloves. And then I was on the radio station, and they interviewed me, and I didn't. Once again, my "Yo, absolutely, Rocky is here to talk about Mick and Adrian. Yo, Adrian!" All that beautiful stuff. So that was my first job as a lookalike. How did people find me? Well, I started off doing the work with the lookalike agency, Ron Smith, and one of the things that would happen is he would send me around the country, and I'd meet people, and people would talk, and people would call me, and so I made connections like that. But I really had to self-promote, and I happened to have a man come into my life that wanted to be my manager. His name was Ski Lawrence, and he wanted to promote me. He said, "I can promote you," and he came up with actually the name Jade. Before that, I had another name. But anyway, so my performing name from then on became Jade Roberts. And he found ways to get great pictures for me, put packets together, make phone calls, and then he began to get me jobs he helped promote me, but I learned how to promote myself. We didn't have in the beginning the social media that we have now with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and so on and so forth. We didn't have websites. You didn't find people on the internet. So we did a lot of phone calls and mail-outs. We'd find agencies and event planning companies, and we did a lot of mail-outs with good old U.S. postage. Have I had any acting training in my background? Most of the things that I did in the beginning were on my own with friends practicing and just hit and miss. In the early days, I did in Dallas find an agent, and I went to regular acting lessons. We had seminars, lessons. We would have casting directors come in, and I did attend many of those for several years, along with the lessons, and that was very helpful. It's an ongoing process. I'm still learning to this day. I think in any industry, you need to keep learning, or you will lose your edge. Sidekicks. Well-known sidekicks do work well in this business. Sonny and Cher, Starsky and Hutch. I don't think I know any people like that, but Laurel and Hardy. There are several. Lucy and Ricky. If you can put an entourage together, a group together, it makes a lot of sense. So, can a group help you? I think so. It gives you some other options, and it's a whole lot of fun. And what I was lucky enough to get involved in a few years ago was a film called The Starving Games. The film was shot in Louisiana, and there were several Expendables, the Expendables movie that Stallone has made a franchise out of. Lookalikes for characters in the Expendables were put together. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chuck Norris, Bruce Willis, Jason Statham, and me as Sylvester Stallone. So we have a really neat little scene in the movie The Starving Games. But on that set that day, as we began to talk to each other, we started to realize, well, maybe we have a lot of fun, a lot of chemistry, so maybe we can make something further develop from this. And so we formed a group called the Expandables. We have a Facebook page. We have some projects in the works that I can't talk about. And so we're constantly trying to promote ourselves also as the Expandables, the tribute group for the Expendables. So be looking for more on us, hopefully in the near future, as some of our projects come to life. So yes, pairing up with another lookalike character or having a group that makes sense, I think it's, you've got the Rat Pack group. I think it's a good idea. We've had a lot of fun with it. What is the craziest thing someone said to me while working? Well, I have a couple of things that come to mind. One of the things that happened not long ago, one of the things that someone said was they came up to me and said, "I love your movies." And then another person came up and said, "I love you." Now, you're not really sure sometimes, but sometimes people really do believe you're that celebrity. And you don't want to burst their bubble. You just want them to have fun with it, and you're not sure if they're completely serious or not. So you just go with it, take pictures with them, hang out with them, and just go with it. So it's not something that happens all the time, but every so often somebody will come up to me and say, "I love you," which is, I don't know how to react to that sometimes. I don't think you know me well enough, but and then the other thing that always comes to mind when I ask that question, one of the most interesting things that's ever happened, was I was flying, I can't remember actually where I was flying at this time, but I was waiting in the airport lobby, just outside the gate, to get on the plane, right by the where all the people hang, and a a little boy came up to me with his mother following, and he said, "Are you Sylvester Stallone?" And I said, "No, I just sort of look like him." And then shortly, and then so he was disappointed. The lady walked off, kind of with a funny look on her face. She said, I wasn't sure. A man came up. The man worked for the airport. He worked for the airlines, I believe. He had a badge. He had an identification badge. And he asked me, "Are you Sylvester Stallone?" Kind of in my ear. And I said, "No, I just look like him." He said, "Oh, okay. Just checking." Moments later, I looked over, and there was a flight attendant behind the door, had the door open to get into the plane, I forget what you call it, the bridge to the plane. And she said, "Come here." So I walked over, and she said, "Would you like to get on early, just to beat the crowd?" And I said, I thought, this was before 9/11, so I'm sure they wouldn't do this now, but I said, sure. And I thought, I'm going to just take this adventure and see where it goes, because I haven't told anyone yet that I'm Sylvester Stallone. I haven't told anyone. I've been denying it the whole time, but they keep wanting to help me out and do things for me, so I decided to make this an adventure. So I walked with her down the ramp to the plane. The same gentleman with the ID badge came up to me quickly thereafter, as before we got into the plane, and he said, "Can I see your ticket?" And I said, "Sure." I pulled my ticket out. My ticket said Jade Roberts. And he looked at it and he said, "Oh, yeah, I get it. Traveling under an assumed name. Smart. Thank you, sir." She took me onto the plane and she said, "Would you like to sit in the back with me? You could sit in first class if you'd like." And I said, "That's fine. Wherever you think is the best." She said, "If you sit in the back with me, it's not a full flight. Nobody will bother you." So I sat in the back, and she got me a soft drink or some water or something. She sat next to me and talked to me for just about the whole flight when she had time, and told me that her mother really loved Sylvester Stallone. Now, the deeper I got into this, the more I started feeling guilty, and I thought, I don't know what I'm, but I didn't want to burst her bubble. I didn't want to ruin it for her. She said, "My mother's the biggest fan in the world." So I said, "Well, you know what I'll do? If you'll give me your address, I'll mail an autographed picture to her." And so when the flight was over, we talked about films and movies and different things. She said thank you and gave her a quick hug goodbye. And to this day, her mother's never received an autographed picture. Why? Because I thought, instead of sending my picture with my name on it, telling her that I was, a lookalike, I thought, why not let her have the thrill of thinking that her daughter sat next to Sylvester Stallone? I just didn't have the heart to break it to her. What has been the most moving experience for me? I think the most moving experience for me in the lookalike tribute artist, celebrity impersonator world was a wedding I did a couple of years ago. I was contacted by a man who was putting together a wedding for his daughter. He said the whole family was a big Rocky fan family, and they're very patriotic. And he wanted to fly me in and have me appear at his daughter's wedding reception. So I did. I didn't know, how they would receive me. Done a lot of these, many of these over the years. But when I walked in, she almost fainted. She was shaking. She really thought I was Sylvester Stallone. And shortly after that, she realized I wasn't, but was still shaking. Taking pictures with her, she was shaking. People were making fun of her because she was shaking. But it has to be the most touching experience. And so she told me in an email later, she said that was the greatest thing and she really appreciated it, and I would always be her Rocky. Is there anything in the industry that I would change if I could? Well, if I had a magic wand and I could do something, I think I would say, if there was a way to have us maybe have, like in a union, have more uniform rates, that would be helpful. But I do like capitalism and I do like the free market. Another thing that I would rather not have is several agents calling about the same job. I think a lot of times we lose work because there are too many people involved and they add their commission on, and before you know it, the people have thought that this is just too much, we can't afford this, and then, you know, nobody wins there. But like I said, those are not easy things to work out. Otherwise, what a wonderful way to entertain people and make people happy. I don't have a lot of complaints. How do you stay in such amazing shape? Well, I don't know if I would call it amazing shape, but I stay in pretty good shape. Always working to better my condition. As a trainer and as a Stallone impersonator performer, it's always important to do that. I think what I owe it to is I got lucky with some pretty good genetics, and also the main thing I try to stick with is consistency. Consistency of exercise, consistency of food, diet, and what I put into my body. Another thing that I'm lucky to have is the motivation of being a fitness trainer and Sylvester Stallone himself being in such great shape. That motivates me to stay in shape also. So genetics, making a big effort, and highly motivated. And the last thing I'd like to say is just to thank Denise Bella Vlasis for this opportunity and all the opportunities that she gives us in this celebrity impersonator tribute artist industry. So for all of you fledgling lookalike impersonators out there, I wish you good luck and give you your best shot, you know what I mean?